What's going on? My name is NFT Flenny, and today I'll be talking about what I think is Veve and Ecomi's biggest weapon, and why you should care and be excited about it. As always, this is not financial advice and will never be financial advice, but what I want to talk about today is something that I don't think people talk about enough, or if they do talk about it, I don't think they really emphasize it to the full extent that I think that it deserves. What might their biggest weapon be? Could it be the already working, already profitable app? Could it be the deflationary cryptocurrency that goes along with said app? Could it be the elite team of experienced experts? It's true that they have all these things going for them, but what I'm talking about being their biggest weapon is their licensing. Not only am I going to be talking about the major licenses that Veve already has, I'm also going to be talking about what those licenses entail and why I think so many people are severely overlooking this huge factor going for Veve. With all that being said, let's get straight into it. Most of us already know that Veve and Ecomi are juggernauts in the licensing game. I mean, with Al Khan at the head of the licensing department, almost every single license is a possibility to have. There is literally no company too big or out of the scope for Alfred Khan. I mean, this is the guy who made Pokemon what it is today. He rebranded them from the name Pocket Monsters to Pokemon, brought them to the US, and he made them a global phenomenon. But for him, it doesn't end with Pokemon. He's also the main contributor to making Cabbage Patch Kids, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and Yu-Gi-Oh! What they are today. He's also worked with other major companies such as Nintendo, and to cap it all off, he's in the Licensing Hall of Fame. You heard that correctly, Licensing Hall of Fame, it's a thing, he's in it. This one guy can catapult any business sheerly with the connections that he has. And this isn't even mentioning the other connections and experience that the other team members have, such as David and Dan. But I mean, we don't even need to talk about potential licenses or future licenses, because what Veve and Ecomi has right here, right now, is already enough to make your jaw drop. I mean, just take a look at the list of the confirmed licenses that Veve and Ecomi already have, and keep in mind that this list is even outdated because it doesn't even include some brands that they have since acquired, the biggest one being Marvel. I mean, take a look at this. We got DreamWorks, we got Warner Bros., we got Universal, and we got DC. And that's just the beginning. I mean, I don't want this entire video to be me just reading a long list of brands that Veve and Ecomi has, because they have a bunch. But just in case you weren't satisfied with that plethora of intellectual property that Veve and Ecomi have, they also have 100 plus confirmed licenses in the pipeline. I remember hearing from an interview a few months ago, it was either Reese or Dan, who said that they have enough material to last them for drops for years. I think they said 3, 4, 5 years, something like that. And they had also said, I know for a fact they said that they want to do multiple drops for the future. So if they want to do multiple drops and they have enough material to last them years, think about the amount of IP that they're working with and that they have at their disposal. They have a massive amount of material to pull from and to keep just churning out. I mean, think about it. Looking at that list, think about all the characters they can pull from, different variations of characters, different seasons of characters. We've already seen this on Veve with the Batman Black and White series. We've seen multiple series of Batman and other characters reappearing multiple times. So they could do that for any collectible. They can add accessories onto pre-existing characters. They can do sports cards. They have the NFLPA license. I mean, what they can do and the amount of material they have is basically endless. And in a recent AMA, Dan said that their phone has been ringing off the hook after other companies got wind of Marvel getting into the NFT game. Other companies have been hitting up Veve wanting to get in themselves. So I think we're just in the beginning. I think we're going to start seeing a snowball effect of more and more companies, more and more brands wanting to get in the NFT boat and want to get established and get in the game. And I don't think we've seen anything yet. So we've established that Veve and Ecomi are killing it in the licensing department, but that begs the question, why is this important and why should you care? You might be wondering, what's the big deal about these licenses? Why am I up here saying that it's their biggest weapon? To me, I believe that it's simple. These companies that are choosing to work with Veve, and I use the word choosing very intentionally, the companies choosing to work with Veve, they have a lot at stake. They have shareholders they need to please. They have a bottom line they need to meet. They have a reputation to keep intact. Are you going to tell me that multiple, multi-billion international companies are going to put their reputation at stake by willy-nilly just choosing a random old app to make their products, to make their NFTs. Of course not. They would not do that. They want the best of the best. They have the money and the resources to research the best, choose the best, and if they really wanted to, they could make their own. But with all that being said, they chose Veve. The executives of these companies, the decision makers, they work day in, day out trying to progress their company, trying to make the best decisions, and trying to innovate, take it to the next level. It's literally their job to make these types of decisions. Their jobs, reputation, and even their livelihood are all on the line if they don't produce the results that the company is looking for. And as we've seen recently, it's especially important to do your due diligence and to do your research, because as we've seen with the Ripple lawsuit versus the SEC, regulation or just legal battles can hinder and strike down cryptocurrency so fast, and everybody knows that. We've seen real life examples of it happen. There are so many institutions that are hesitant to jump into crypto because the future, the regulations, it's all up in the air. It's still yet to be seen. Like I mentioned, Veve and Ecomi have a partnership with Marvel. Marvel's owned by Disney. It's a good thing that Disney has a top lawyer for 20 years heading their legal defense, with I'm sure dozens more lawyers who were doing tons of research, tons of due diligence to make sure that getting involved with this crypto project, with this NFT project, isn't going to cost them millions of dollars in legal fees down the line. You can bet the house that they are certain that this will not come back to bite them, and that they did not leave any stones unturned when making a decision of how to take this moving forward. I think it's probably safe to say that these big wig decision makers have done more extensive and thorough research than us retail investors when it came to them making the decision to choose Veve and Ecomi to carry out their company's NFT ambitions. I will always be an advocate of doing your own research and making your own decisions, but I think this is kind of a cheat code a little bit, that they get to do the research for us and they make the decisions for us a little bit. But I mean, these companies have done extensive research and they have so much more at stake. That makes me feel so much more comfortable in my decision to invest in this company if multi-billion-dollar companies are endorsing them and putting their weight behind them. You might be asking yourself, what's stopping a different company from coming along and doing the same NFT, digital collectible type of app? Well, first of all, the team has been planting this NFT seed for years now. They've been establishing connections and getting their foot in the door for a long time. So for someone else to come in and do the same thing, they would have a lot of years to have to catch up and make ground on. Not only that, Reese also confirmed that the licenses they have for these collectibles, they are exclusive. So there's that. Now that we've talked about the importance of these licenses and partnerships, I want to give you guys an idea of the scale that we're working with here. So I want to highlight Marvel as an example. And I always love using Marvel because I'm still in awe that Veve and Ecomi have managed to get them as a partnership. But not only that, it fits well for this topic because they're owned by Disney. Now Disney is number 50 in the Fortune 500. But if you break it down by media companies, they're number 1. And they have achieved all these accomplishments despite the pandemic greatly reducing their streams of revenue. But I mean, you guys don't need stats or numbers to know how powerful and influential Disney as a company is. I mean, everybody knows that, right? These guys basically have an unlimited budget. I mean, in 2020, their revenue was $65.39 billion. And the total budget for the 24 movies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe was about $4.7 billion. And that's just for the movies. If they really wanted to, they could hire their own graphic designers and their own 3D artists to make these NFTs for them. They could fund their own marketing, no problem. And they have endless amounts of people who would love to work for them, especially doing art. They easily could have made their own project and kept all the money themselves instead of just the 6% that they take from Veve. Knowing all of this, they still chose Veve and Ecomi to help them make the jump into the NFT world. What does that say about Veve and Ecomi? To me, it shows that the vision that we all see for this project is legit, because these multi-billion-dollar companies see the same thing as us, and they are investing time, money, and resources into carrying this out. These world-class companies know where the technology and the industry is headed, and the smartest and most successful companies are the ones that can adapt to the changing times and be at the forefront of innovation. Personally, I would say that Disney fits the bill of being smart and successful. Dan Buckley, the president of Marvel Entertainment, in a statement expressed delight with the release of Spider-Man NFT collectibles. He explained that the initiative wasn't recent, as collecting superhero figures had always been a part of the Marvel fandom. Quote, Like us, Veve understands collecting is about the experience just as much as the product, and we look forward to extending that experience to our fans over the years to come. Let's take a look at other licenses that Veve and Ecomi have and how successful they've been and what their numbers look like. First, let's take a look at Warner Bros. As a refresher, let's look at their most successful movies. We got Harry Potter sitting at the top, raking in $1.3 billion in worldwide box offices, followed by Aquaman, The Dark Knight Rises, and Joker, and that's not even cracking the top 5. As we continue down the list, we see hit after hit, classic after classic. I mean, we got Inception, Ready Player One, that's pretty fitting for the Veve community, right? We got I Am Legend, Dunkirk. Warner Bros. Is owned by AT&T, which sits at number 11 on the Fortune 500. If we check out Universal Studios, they're owned by Comcast, which sits at number 26. If we look at some of Universal Studios movies, we see things such as Jurassic Park, Fast and Furious, both of which are confirmed licenses of Veve and Ecomi. We got Minions, etc. I'm not sure about you guys, but I would collect a Kevin, Stuart, and Bob Minion set in a heartbeat. And if we take a look at DreamWorks, these are all movies that I grew up watching and I have such fond memories of. And if the total gross is any indication of the popularity of these movies, it's safe to say that these would do very well as collectibles. Can you guys think of any collectibles that might be able to come out of these movies? I mean, it might be hard, but I think Veve can manage to find a way to make these into some collectibles. I mean, I know I would snatch up an ultra rare Lord Farquaad in an instant.
Some of you may die, but it's a sacrifice I am willing to make.
I really want to emphasize that these world famous, multi-billion, international brands chose to work with Veve and Ecomi. If that doesn't make you excited for the future, then I don't know what will. Think about where this is headed. It's almost a no-brainer for other companies to follow down the NFT path. They stand to make tons of money off their intellectual property at almost no cost to them. I would not be surprised to see almost every brand put out their IP so they can make royalties on every transaction until the end of time. Whenever I see people bashing NFTs on Twitter or even in a real life conversation, I just laugh on the inside because I know that every major company and every major artist is going down the NFT path. And people who resist the change, who think it's just a JPEG or it's just a picture, they'll be left behind and they'll be missing out on the most lucrative chance to invest in NFTs. Not only can licensors make eternal royalties off of their IP, but one of the main selling points of NFTs is that you can make them interoperable in any way you like through the use of smart contracts. Let me give you an example. Disclaimer though, this is not an idea that I've heard, or it's not in the works, or it's not coming soon or anything. This is all my idea, just one direction I could see NFTs being used for, just one use case. So get this. Think about a Mickey Mouse collectible with 10,000 editions. Just for fun, we'll slap a little first appearance tag on there. Not only would Mickey be an amazing collectible to have, the first appearance of the face of the Disney conglomerate. In this scenario, in this example, this collectible also gets you discounts on any concession at Disney theme parks. It doesn't need to be concessions, obviously, just for this example, that's what I went with. But what would that look like? Well, first of all, it would incentivize fans of Disney, specifically fans of the parks. It would incentivize them to buy it so they can own it, so they can hold it, and when they go to the parks, they get discounts. So depending on how expensive it is, it might pay for itself if someone were to use it enough. But again, it wouldn't be just for discounts. It would at the same time be a collectible. Now what if you don't like the theme parks, or what if you live too far from one and it wouldn't be useful for you to have? Well, you can have it for the collecting aspect. Having the first appearance of Mickey would, I'm sure, be a very sought after piece. But you could rent out your collectible to someone who does go to the parks. So say someone's going on a weekend vacation to Disney World, you could rent them your NFT so they don't need to pay full price when they only need it for one weekend, but they could use it and get discounts, and then through the smart contract, it would get delivered back to your account and the funds would be delivered back to you. Not only could they use it for discounts over the weekend, they could also use it to take pictures in AR at the park, to flex a little bit. It would have all the same properties and benefits of a collectible, but in this interoperable scenario, it could be used for discounts and give people more reason to hold it, use it, rent it out, and get people to the theme parks or the stores or whatever of the brands who are distributing it. And keep in mind, all the while, every time it's being bought and sold, rented out, for this scenario, since it would be Disney who owns the IP, Disney would be getting a cut of every single transaction. So in this scenario, everybody wins, and this is where I see the future of NFTs going. I don't see why it wouldn't, personally, and Veve is laying the groundwork for all of this to be possible. I know from my 4 years of cryptocurrency experience that seeing real-world companies pair up with crypto projects is not something that you see every day. I've seen talks or speculations or future plans, but never have I seen the real world and the crypto world come together so seamlessly, effectively, and successfully. Just the sheer number of licenses, world-class partnerships, and utility of these NFTs will be huge for the growth and evolution of Veve and NFTs in general. The monopoly on licensed digital collectibles that Veve is going to have will set them over the top, and in my opinion will make them the leader in digital collecting and NFTs for the foreseeable future. That's why I think licensing is Veve Ecomi's biggest weapon and what will take them the farthest. If you agree, disagree, comments, concerns, put it down in the comments. And if you enjoyed the content, please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing because it really helps my new channel grow. With all that being said, this has been NFT Flenny. I'll see you guys next time. Of the Disney conglomerate. Ooh, voice crack, okay.